It began with a silence so deep it felt older than time itself. Not the kind of silence you notice when the world around you is still, but the kind that hums in your bones, as if it's been there forever, waiting for you to listen. And then, through that darkness, came light. Faint, delicate, almost too fragile to believe in. Yet it had been traveling toward us for over 13 billion years, carrying secrets from a time when the universe was barely born. The James Webb Space Telescope had opened its eyes to the farthest edges of reality, and what it saw was nothing short of a miracle. Not a void, not a chaotic blur of cosmic debris, but a living tapestry, rich with form and motion, as if the cosmos itself had been sculpting beauty from the very moment it existed. For centuries we've told ourselves stories of the beginning, how from nothing came everything, how dust gathered into stars, and stars gathered into galaxies. We thought we understood the order of things, slow, patient, unhurried. But these first images shattered that comfort. They revealed galaxies already formed and shining just a few 100 million years after the first spark of creation. Great spirals, star nurseries burning bright, and even colossal black hearts beating at their centers. The universe, it seemed, had been in a hurry. And standing there, staring at those images, you couldn't help but feel something stir inside you. A kind of ache. Because these were not just pictures of space, they were portraits of time itself, showing us moments that happened before Earth, before the sun, before even the whisper of our existence. Every pinprick of light in those images was a messenger, carrying a story from an age when nothing we know had yet begun. The light had traveled through storms of dust, past invisible rivers of dark matter, through the quiet shadows between galaxies. It had survived billions of years just to arrive here, to be caught by a mirror no bigger than a tennis court, floating in the cold dark beyond the moon. That mirror, the James Webb Telescope, didn't just capture it, it revealed its soul, and what it showed us changed everything. We saw galaxies colliding in slow-motion ballets, their shapes twisting and stretching under the pull of gravity. We saw clusters of stars so tightly packed they looked like jewels in some cosmic crown. We saw tendrils, ghostly filaments, reaching across unimaginable distances, connecting one cluster to another like a web of light. And we saw colors that had been hidden from every eye that came before. Shades that spoke of temperatures, of ages, of elements forged in the fiery hearts of ancient suns. Scientists had expected chaos, the messy beginnings of order. But instead, the cosmos greeted us with a strange kind of maturity. It was as if the universe had skipped childhood altogether, leaping straight into complexity in a way that defied every prediction. We thought galaxies needed billions of years to take shape. Here they were, sculpted and grand, when the universe itself was still in its infancy. It wasn't just a scientific revelation, it was personal. Because looking at those images, you realize that everything you are, everything you love, everything you've ever touched or dreamed of, it all came from that same ancient fire, the heavy elements in your blood, the carbon in your bones, the oxygen you breathe. They were born in the very stars now shining back at us from the dawn of time. And somewhere out there, beyond even what Webb can see, there's more. More galaxies, more light, more stories waiting to be told. We can't see them, not because they aren't real, but because their light hasn't reached us yet. They are hidden by time itself. But the edge we can see, the farthest our eyes have ever reached, is already enough to humble and unmake us. That edge is not a wall, it's a horizon. And now for the first time in human history, we are standing at it, looking across billions of years into the moment when the first structures of the universe came alive. And in that moment, you feel small, but not insignificant. Because if we can see this far, maybe we can understand. Maybe we can finally answer the oldest question of all. How did it all begin? And yet, even as the data pours in, even as the brightest minds race to decode it, something deeper takes root in you. Wonder, the kind that makes your chest tighten and your breath catch. Because you're not just looking at the universe, you're looking at the beginning of your own story. At first, the scientists thought it was a trick, An illusion born of distance and time. Maybe their instruments had exaggerated the shapes. Maybe these galaxies weren't as massive as they seemed. But the more they checked, the more the data insisted. The universe had built complexity faster than anyone imagined possible. That was the first fracture in our certainty. For decades, cosmology had been our comfort map, a neat unfolding of time where stars lit up in measured steps and galaxies assembled with patience. But Webb's images told another story, one of a cosmos rushing forward, as if driven by some urgency we do not yet understand. We weren't catching the universe in its gentle dawn. We were stumbling upon it mid-stride. Some of these galaxies were too large, too organized, too luminous for their age. It was as if a child, barely learning to walk, had already written poetry. And if that was possible, then maybe we didn't know the rules of this game as well as we thought. But the surprises didn't stop with the galaxies. Webb's gaze, piercing deeper into the infrared than any eye before it, pulled open curtains we never knew were there. Behind veils of dust, it revealed star nurseries blazing with creation. Clouds of hydrogen and carbon were collapsing into newborn suns, their light so raw and fierce it turned surrounding gas into glowing caverns. Some of these regions looked familiar, like the pillars and nebulae we'd seen through Hubble's lens. But now they were sharper, alive with detail, almost breathing. And then there were the shadows. Black holes, some of them giants, sat at the hearts of these young galaxies, their hunger unimaginable. We had expected them in the modern universe, where time allowed matter to gather and collapse. But here they were, already enormous when the universe was still just a child. How had they grown so fast? What had fed them so well in so little time? The questions kept multiplying. Each discovery Webb made was like opening a door to a room full of more locked doors. If the universe was already so mature so early, did that mean our models of cosmic growth were wrong? Did it mean there had been something before the Big Bang, something that seeded order in ways we can't yet comprehend? And yet, in the midst of the confusion, there was beauty. Not just the kind that dazzles the eye, but the kind that makes you feel deeply, almost painfully aware of being alive. Every strange galaxy, every impossible star cluster, every shimmering filament was a reminder that the universe is not obligated to be simple. It doesn't need to fit neatly into our theories. It exists on its own terms, and we are the lucky ones invited to witness it. But Webb also revealed something more intimate. When it turned its mirrors toward exoplanets, worlds orbiting other stars, it found chemical fingerprints in their skies, traces of water vapor, clouds of methane, mists of carbon dioxide, worlds bathed in alien light, some scorched, some frozen, some perhaps just right. It was no longer science fiction to imagine that somewhere, under an unfamiliar sun, oceans might be breaking against foreign shores. The telescope was built to answer questions. But the irony, the quiet, humbling truth, is that its greatest gift might be the questions it raises. Because when you look into that darkness, into the faint glow of the first galaxies, you realize something. The universe is not done surprising us. The more we learn, the more impossible it becomes to hold all of it in our minds at once. And maybe that's the point. Maybe we were never meant to understand it all. Maybe we were meant to keep reaching, to keep asking, to keep building better eyes to see further still. And somewhere in that reaching, you sense a shift. We are no longer the species huddled under ancient skies, inventing myths to explain the stars. We are the species building tools that can look back in time to the very first spark of everything. The unsettling truth is that the universe is stranger than we thought. But the deeper truth, the one that hums in your bones, is that this strangeness is the very thing that keeps us alive. There is a place in the sky, a place not marked by constellations or compass bearings, where light itself gives up. Not because it is gone, but because it hasn't arrived yet. The James Webb Space Telescope peers toward that limit, toward the faintest whisper of the first galaxies, and beyond that horizon lies something we cannot yet touch. It is the boundary between what is known and what has never been seen. When Webb stares at that edge, it is not looking into distance the way we look across an ocean. It is looking into time. And at that horizon, the clock stands at just a few 100 million years after the Big Bang, a heartbeat after the moment everything began. The light there is ancient beyond reckoning, stretched into deep red by the expansion of the cosmos, carrying stories from when matter itself was still learning how to gather. But here is the strange, humbling truth. That horizon is not the end of the universe. It is the edge of our vision. Beyond it, more galaxies burn, more stars are born, more planets turn quietly in their orbits. They are hidden not by distance, but by the slow, unyielding speed of light. Their messages have not yet reached us. And this means something extraordinary. There are places in the universe where our existence is still in the future. Somewhere on some distant world, the light of our sun has not yet arrived. Earth does not yet exist in their sky. We are their future, just as countless stars and galaxies beyond our horizon are ours. It makes you wonder, if there is life out there, what do they see when they look up? Do they think they are alone? Or have their own instruments caught the faintest glimmer of us, not as we are now, but as we were long ago, when our planet was still molten or when our first forests breathed life into the air? Webb cannot yet answer these questions. It was not built to see beyond time's veil. But what it can do is bring us closer, close enough that the mystery feels alive in our hands. And maybe that is enough, because there's something almost sacred in standing at the limits of human knowledge and realizing that the universe is not a closed book. There will always be pages we have not yet turned, worlds we have not yet named, colors we have not yet seen. We are part of a story still being written, and as we stand at this horizon, there's a quiet understanding that we are no longer just looking outward, we are looking inward too. Every galaxy Webb reveals, every ancient light it uncovers, is also a mirror. It shows us what we are, a brief, burning moment of consciousness in a vast ocean of time, reaching out into the dark, not because we must, but because we can. And in that reaching, we become something more. In the end, the James Webb Space Telescope is not just a machine. It is a mirror we have placed at the edge of the possible, angled not only toward the beginning of time, but toward ourselves. Every golden hexagon, every meticulously aligned surface, is an act of faith. The belief that the questions are worth the cost, the years, the risk of failure. Because this was never guaranteed to work. It could have unfolded wrong, a hinge could have locked too soon, a mirror could have warped, a single fault in the cold of space, and Webb would have become a silent monument to ambition, drifting forever in the dark. And yet it unfolded perfectly, as if the universe itself was willing to be seen. Now the images it sends back are more than photographs. They are evidence, not just of distant galaxies and infant stars, but of something less tangible, that a species as fragile and fallible as ours can still build something that works flawlessly a million miles from home. That perhaps is Webb's quietest revelation. Because when we look at those first galaxies, we are also looking at the first time light ever touched matter. When we measure the fingerprints of alien atmospheres, we are listening for the faintest echo of life across a cosmic gulf. And when we stand in front of those images, whether in a laboratory, a classroom, or a living room, we are connected not by geography or language, but by awe. Awe is the thing that survives us. Long after Webb is gone, long after our own world has changed in ways we cannot yet imagine, the light it captured will still be traveling. Across the vacuum, across the ages, carrying our questions, our courage, our fingerprints. Some future mind, human or not, may stumble upon that light and recognize it as the work of someone who wanted to see. And in that moment, they will know something about us. That we were here, that we were curious, that we were not content to live only in the light we were born into. We are temporary, but the light we chase and the light we leave behind can last forever. And maybe, just maybe, when some distant eye meets ours across the dark, they will understand what we tried to say, that we love the universe enough to build a way to see it.